Hello, everybody. Hey, everybody who knows me knows that I hate to edit videos, but I'm actually putting this video in front of an interview that I did with a fellow YouTuber out in Los Angeles, Mitch Boyer. I highly recommend you check out his channel. We had a great conversation, and I hope you enjoy it. About 32 minutes talking about him and his search for the steepest street. We take some side bar conversations as well. He was able to hand out water bottles at last year's Tour de France, and he gave Wout van Aert a water bottle, so you'll get to hear that story. But just a great guy, and I'd appreciate it if you guys checked out his channel, Mitch Boyer. You'll see him. I'll put it in the comments, but I hope you enjoy the video. Please like and subscribe to our channel. It will help us. We hope to build this up fairly big in the next 12 months. So thank you so much for your support. I appreciate all you guys. Thanks. Okay, well, hello, everybody. Hey, I have got a special guest today, fellow YouTuber. I've watched most of his videos on YouTube. In fact, he actually, in a non verbal way, just through watching a lot of his videos, he actually encouraged me to get into this and document my journey on a bicycle. Mitch Boyer, Los Angeles, California. I will say he is a beast on climbing hills, and that's something that me and Jason really like to do. And so, Mitch, thank you. Thank you for giving us some of your time today.
Of course, excited to be here, Mike.
That's good. So Mitch, one of the first videos I saw of you, you traveled to New Zealand.
Hmm.
Tell us a little bit about that experience, because
That
most of the
was,
people haven't seen your video.
yeah. Yeah, so I guess for people who aren't familiar with me, my main shtick on YouTube is riding up the steepest streets in the world. So I've traveled all over the world, kind of riding these. I
Mhm.
say tongue in cheek in the videos that I'm searching for the steepest street in the world.
Yeah.
Um, New Zealand has the Guinness World Record official steepest street, Baldwin Street, down at the bottom of the South Island in a little town called Dunedin.
Right.
Um, But what I found as I look for all these steep streets is there's always somehow another street that is actually steeper.
Yeah.
But I had to go to Baldwin to set kind of the bar.
Hmm.
And I had made like a bit of a cheeky video poking fun at New Zealand and this town and how they claim to have the steepest street, but there's all these other streets that on paper are steeper. So by the time I got down there, the local news crew was there and they uh, Kiwis have a pretty sarcastic sense of humor, and
Hmm.
luckily so does my dad. So I was ready for it, but they
Right.
just absolutely roasted me. Um, and it was about 30 hours of travel to get there from Los Angeles, where I'm at. I flew
Wow.
into Sydney, then over to Christchurch and drove down.
Right.
I'm using that as my excuse. I was jet lagged.
Right.
Um, I didn't make it up the first time, and the news crew was pretty happy that I didn't make it up the street the first time.
Funny. Yeah. So you fell the first time you went up, didn't you?
Yeah,
Yeah. That's
I underestimated it. It's the thing. So I have a decent amount of power for about a minute, and then after that, my power profile like drops off,
down. Yeah.
and I go from being maybe above average for the 1 minute power, and then being like average and below after that.
Me
And
too.
this street in New Zealand, uh, for me was about a 3 minute climb. So those there was
Wow.
a gap in my ability versus the hill, and it took me 3 times to get up it, and I was really glad I did because I was worried for a second I had flown out there and and I wasn't going to get what I needed for the video.
Well, I also saw where you recently went up the mountain there on Maui, the 11,000 feet climb. Tell me a little bit about that. How did you guys plan for water on that? I mean, that I would think that.
Yeah.
How long did it take?
Well, it took, so I'm working on that video right now.
Hmm.
I went with Phil Guyman. He's a former World Tour pro and a friend of mine, and much stronger than I am. He got the KOM on it. He did
Okay.
it in 2 hours and 23 minutes.
Okay.
Um, I took a wrong turn about an hour into my ride
Yeah,
and,
I
and
saw
added
them.
an extra hour of climbing in the wrong direction.
Ooh,
So all told together was about 5 hours for me with that extra hour. So even without that, I was still 4 hours. So it was an hour and a half,
right.
more than an hour and a half behind Phil's
And how
pace.
many feet
Uh,
was it, Mitch?
if I hadn't taken the detour, it would have been 10,000 feet of climbing. It ended up being like a little over 11.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
And I guess the air, you were dealing with the air being thin as well, weren't you?
Yeah, it's funny whenever you're riding at altitude. I live in Los Angeles at sea level. I'm on the like central side of LA. I'm about 300 feet above sea level, but it's still
Right.
sea level. Um, you just kind of like watch your power go down as the elevation goes up,
Right.
and so it's just like a war of attrition. You just keep going, and it feels like you're doing the same amount of power, but you look down and it's just kind of trickling off. I tend to do fairly well. I grew up mostly in Utah, and my parents live at like 6,000 feet above sea level, so I'm used to riding
Okay.
um, at. There's a big difference though between 6,000 feet and 10,000 feet, but I'm used to riding at a bit of elevation.
Yeah.
Um, so I knew just what to expect, and I just kind of like cranked it out at my zone two pace all
Right.
the way up.
Yeah.
The visitor center, I grabbed some water. So it was the climb is interesting. Um, it's just a long, monotonous climb. It's not very steep.
Mhm.
It's long. It's like the opposite of everything I usually do in my videos. Um, and I'm not built for those climbs, but it was
Right.
still fun. It's absolutely beautiful up there.
Yeah, and then I noticed you guys were in Pittsburgh not long ago, and you did a race there that had three tough climbs on it. And then
Yeah.
it looked like it was cold there.
Yeah, it was a little cold there.
Yeah.
I've become so soft living in LA. I've been in LA for about 3 years. I was in New York before that.
Okay.
Um, But now it's like anything below 60 degrees, and I
Oh yeah,
feel like it's
yeah,
freezing.
yeah,
So I don't know what the temperature was. I think it was in October.
yeah,
So it's pretty chilly. And yeah, they do this event called the Dirty Dozen.
yeah.
It's 13 of the steepest streets in Pittsburgh.
Right,
And it's a tough ride because they're very steep hills, and they're not all. So a few of them are short, like 1 minute, 2 minute efforts.
right.
Some of them are like 5 to 8 minute efforts.
Yeah,
Um, and at my weight at the time,
yeah.
I was like 170 pounds.
Right.
I had to do like 350 watts to 400 watts on all the hills to get up them,
Oh,
and it's exhausting, man, but it's such a fun event, and the camaraderie there is amazing. Everybody in the city is like lining the streets. They're cheering you as you go up the streets. It's really a special event.
that one's in October. I'm going to write that down. I have to check that out because I can
Yeah,
I can be there by car in 7.5 hours or less.
it's fun. The thing I like about that event is it's neutralized between the hills.
Hmm.
And so the ride, and you can pick what group you go with. So they have like a pro heat, they call it the licensed heat, and I forget the names of the other heats, but you can kind of select the group you want to go with based on your ability.
Yeah.
And everybody's encouraging. And so it doesn't matter if you're in the pro heat or in the party bus at the back, you can have a really good time.
Right.
And you just got to cover between the hills, and then you're all cheering each other on as you go up the hills. It's yeah, like I said before, it's a really special event, and if you're into that kind of stuff, I definitely recommend it.
Yeah. Interesting. Now, what about? I know you're a beast at climbing. I mean, it's compared to
That's very
see,
generous.
we well you are because now you do fall a lot, and I was going to ask you about that. We'll talk about that later, but I have never fallen on a hill, but we climb 18 to 24% is really steep for us. There is this
That's
one
cheap for anybody.
yeah,
Yeah.
there is this one hill that we do that's 24%. And the first time I ever rode it, I had to get off and push.
Hmm.
It was in a ride. And then
Yeah.
the second time I rode it, I had to zigzag a little bit. I mean, it was 24%. And
Yeah.
you've already come up a famous mountain called the Wall. And so it's steep for a very long time. I don't know what the average gradient is on it, but it's pretty steep. But tell me about your training. What are you doing training off the bike?
I should be doing training off the bike. Um,
Me too.
no, I normally don't do a lot of training off the bike, and I'm starting to feel it. I'm 37 now, and I've kind of gotten away with it up to this point.
Yeah.
Uh, but I'm starting to feel the effects of not doing gym work or core work or anything like that. So I'm going to be incorporating more of that
Well, that's
this
good.
year for the
I
steep
do
streets.
I do core work, but now I've got 20
Uh,
years on you. I'm 57. So I'm a little few years older than you, but I can keep up with a lot of guys your age. What
yeah,
about
no, I believe it.
yeah, yeah, I mean it's I just recently qualified for Senior Olympics, but I never thought I would say something. I never thought something like that would ever come out of my mouth because I can remember when I was 37. I wished I'd have started riding when I was 37. But
Uh-huh. That's incredible. What event for the Senior Olympics?
I qualified in a 3 mile time trial, the 5K, and I qualified in a 20K road race. The time trial, I missed the gold medal. I got a bronze in the state of Tennessee, and God's country, by the way. And I had practiced with a buddy that I ride with, holding my seat, clipped in, and they let you go. They don't give you a push. Now on TV, I think I've seen them give them a little bit of push. Like you went. One of my questions, I wanted to ask you a question about the Tour de France because I know you went this last year, but this guy had a hold of my seat, and it's a little nerve wracking because they're counting it down, and then they tell you when you have 10 seconds, and well, they told me to do something that my buddy didn't tell me to do. He said, apply your left brake, your front brake. So, Mitch, as soon as he let me go, I tore out and I forgot to let go of my left brake.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. So for 20 yards, 25 yards, Mitch, I mean, I'm probably pushing 600 watts, which is a lot for me. And
Yeah.
and I hear them yelling, "Go, go, go!" And I'm thinking, why are they yelling, "Go, go, go"? They didn't do
Yeah.
that for the person in front of me. So I let my brake go.
Wow.
Yeah, and felt like then I had turbocharge, but I missed first
Yeah.
place by 9 seconds. And then the 12-mile road race was very interesting. It was fun because they blocked all the traffic and we had a motorcycle escort. And that was the
Hmm.
cool part about it. And then, yeah, I'd never done one. I mean, I've been cycling for 2 years, 2.5 years. This guy,
That's so cool.
yeah, 93-year-old guy. He actually we let him lead for a while, but I placed third in the road race as well. So tell me about you. I asked you about training, and you really, I've asked multiple riders, really beast on bikes, especially, and they always say ride your bike. I know you're supposed to train
Hmm.
off the bike, and I know that helps. And you have just around the corner from where you live a few streets, Fargo, Baxter, and Eldred streets
Hmm.
are mean streets. Tell us a little bit about how often you get to ride those and what are they like to train?
Um, I ride them more than I want to, and they are horrible to train on. I found them just by chance.
Mhm.
Um, you've started this YouTube journey. I'm sure you've kind of come across this already. When you're trying to be consistent, you're always on the hunt for
Oh yeah.
like a good video idea and a good video topic.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was just searching for like what videos would perform well, and
Mhm.
I noticed that steep street stuff tend to perform well on YouTube. So I started searching like where are the steep streets, and they just happen to be right around the corner from where I live. A lot of people don't realize how steep this side of Los Angeles is. So I live in a neighborhood called Silver Lake, and the neighborhood next door, Echo Park, has some of the steepest streets in the world,
Right.
just because when the neighborhood was developed, the city planners just ignored the topography of the
Yeah.
land,
Yeah.
and they just put the grid system like over top of the mountains. And so you get a lot of these streets that have 30% plus grades.
Hmm.
Fargo Street, I haven't measured it yet. I need to do it. I need to just start taking my own measurement tools out on these
Yeah.
videos. But Google's or sorry, topographic database
Right.
claims that Fargo Street hits 54%.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Is that the one you
and
threw up on?
no, that was Baxter. I rode Fargo first, and
Okay.
then I went right over to Baxter and rode up it back to back without any rest, and that
Yeah.
was a mistake.
Yeah, man.
Um,
You threw up. Man.
so
That's
yeah,
hardcore.
I didn't know what I was getting myself into. It was literally one of those like it was the start of my YouTube journey.
Hmm.
I was like, I need a video for this week. My goal at that time was posting a video every single week. It
Right.
was Friday morning, and I needed a video out by Sunday evening.
Right.
And so Friday morning, I planned this out. Friday afternoon, I went and I filmed it, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Um,
Yeah.
it's pure like adrenaline
Yeah.
and fear of tipping over
Yeah.
was what that got me up that hill. Once you kind of get past 30%,
Yeah.
uh, you're not actually going to tip over, but it does
Feel like it.
feel like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, if
That's
you
scary.
draw out 30% on a piece of paper, it doesn't look that steep, but when you're riding up it, it just
Yeah.
feels so steep.
Oh, yeah. Well, the 24% that we ride at this particular ride, it's pretty tough. I couldn't imagine adding 12% to that. That's insane.
24 is still really, really steep. And honestly, anything that's double digits,
Yeah.
it's tough to get up on a bike, and
Yeah.
especially a road bike, even if you have easy gearing.
Yeah.
You can have a 1-to-1 ratio
Mhm.
on your bike, and you're still going to have to put out some serious power on like a 10% grade.
Right.
So it's
I
none
think
of
my
it's easy.
rear cassette's a 30. I don't have
Okay.
the bigger, 32 or 34, but I know some guys who do. But yeah, I think my rear cassette's a 30. Well, what about Maria Street in San Diego? That looked pretty wicked on the video.
Yeah, that's so there's this neighborhood in San Diego called Dictionary Hill.
Right?
Similar situation.
Yeah.
They just they just build a grid
Right.
system
Yeah.
where they shouldn't have. Interestingly, they gave away a bunch of lots. I wish they still did that in
Yeah.
California, just giving away these the lots
Because
when they
nobody will
buy
build
them.
on it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was just too steep. But yeah, you would buy a dictionary from this guy and you got a lot as part of your purchase, and that's why it's called Dictionary Hill.
Okay.
There, it's steep. It's not as steep as Fargo or Baxter
Okay.
or Eldridge.
Yeah.
It's in the upper 20s. So like right around that street that you rode up. So
Right.
24 to like 28%. Um,
Yeah, we
it-
look for, longer 8%,
yeah.
9% max. Most of the time it's 5 to 7, 8%, for 10 miles. And then you have a descent and then you'll do, yeah, and we've got some really good ones. We're close to Smoky Mountains, so that's good. But you have so many to choose from. Tell me about you. I noticed you switched from a BMC bike and then you have a new bike now. Was it lighter? Is it better on the hills? What's different about your BMC versus your new bike?
Yeah. So I got the BMC end of 2021, I think.
Hmm.
Um,
Because I think the
and
first video I ever saw, man, you were in love with your BMC.
oh, I still am. I still
Yeah,
love it.
yeah,
Um, it's great. You can't see it's off camera. It's
hmm,
right over here.
yeah,
Um, yeah, it's a great bike. The bike that I'm riding right now, it's from this LA brand called Rita.
right,
And the way that it kind of started, my BMC had a malfunction with the front derailleur.
right,
The I have the 12-speed Di2 on it,
right,
and basically the derailleur decided to push out. So it just kept pushing the chain all the way off of it. And I had to send it in for warranty for Shimano to send me a new front derailleur, which they did. And that's great. Um, I had like a big event coming up. There's this ride called the Circle of Doom here in LA. It's like
yeah,
130 miles and I want to say like 12,000 feet of elevation.
right,
And I needed a bike for it. And so I reached out to these guys at Rita because I think I saw like an Instagram ad or
yeah,
something like that.
yeah,
And they let me borrow one of their bikes for
yeah.
this ride. And I just like,
Wow.
the bike was so fun. The
Yeah.
BMC is like, how would I describe it? It's like a nice sedan.
Hmm.
It's just like smooth. You can
Right.
cruise.
Yeah.
And the Rita, it's like it's just a little more. sporty,
I got it.
and the front end is a little more responsive. It
Right.
is a little bit lighter.
Yes.
I have like a prototype frame from them right now.
Right.
That's one of their ultralight frames, and the
Hmm.
frame I think is like it's below 700 grams for
Oh
the frame.
wow. What does your bike weigh
So,
with everything and just the pedals on it? Do you know?
and I haven't weighed it. I just put 2 by back on it. I had one by with a mountain bike cassette for a while,
Right.
and that was around like 15 pounds.
Okay.
Uh,
That's what my Cannondale weighs. I've got a
yeah.
Super 6 Evo High Mod that weighs
Uh-huh.
15.3 with the pedals. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it
that's
doesn't always
light.
with the pedal.
Yeah,
I
that's
feel like
light.
giving bike weights without pedals is kind of like cheating.
I
I
know,
feel
I
like
know, I know. But
the pedals on top.
that's how the manufacturers do it. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
Gotta add
yeah.
pedals. Yeah.
So
What pedal?
the interesting thing is like I have this like super lightweight prototype
Yeah.
frame on.
Mhm.
And they've got a new version I'm going to kind of try. They've been tweaking it, but I like the ride quality of their original frame more than this lightweight one. The
Okay.
lightweight one is more rigid, but there's a little more road chatter in it,
Yeah.
whereas the
Right.
other one, was a couple 100 grams more. I think it was like 900 grams for the frame,
Right.
but that thing was just like so smooth. So I'm actually looking forward to like trying out this new prototype or maybe going back to the other one. I weigh so much for a cyclist.
Mhm.
In the normal population, I'm like very skinny, but in the cycling population, I'm like a big boy.
What do you weigh
Um,
now?
right now, I'm like about 175 pounds.
Okay, so I weigh 180 to 185. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah. So we're
fluctuate.
like,
Yeah, we're
and
close.
if you tell somebody who doesn't cycle,
Hmm.
like, oh, like I'm considered
Oh,
big
I
in
know.
cycling, they
Yeah.
laugh, you know?
Yeah.
Um, I think I'd rather have like a little bit nicer of a ride than those like few extra grams
Right. Yep.
off. Um, and yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at on the whole lightweight thing. I think you asked what pedals I'm using. I have the Fafero Asioma power pedals.
Okay.
Um, and I've had those for a while and they've just been like
You like them?
solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you and I have a connection with Michelin because I noticed on one of your videos you were
Yeah.
promoting Michelin, and I've done some work over the years for the factory for the Michelin
Oh,
company,
cool.
more on the passenger and light truck tires, but I do know that they made bicycle tires first. They really invented the modern bicycle tire. They have an
Really?
endurance tire that they were making, since the early 1900s. That Pro 4 endurance it's hard to find
Uh-huh.
it now. They don't make it anymore, but you can still, there's a lot of inventory still out there. But rolling resistance wise, that power cut tire that you were showing off on one of your videos, great tire. Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
But
Very
the
fast
rolling
tire.
resistance is just incredible. And I still have some friends that work there and have a couple of ends, and I run only Michelin's on my cars, but I ride them on the bikes as well. So there's a friendly banter that goes back and forth about Continental. A guy that I ride with, he has
Uh,
Continentals, and he's gone tubeless, and I'm using plastic tubes. Are you tubeless on yours?
oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm tubeless.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Okay.
definitely tubeless.
Yeah.
I started my first like drop bar bike was a gravel bike and it was
Yeah.
set up tubeless.
Okay.
And so I've tried TPU, I've tried latex. Um, but I maybe because I my first experience on it was
Yeah.
tubeless, I like the feel of
Tubeless.
tubeless. I know some people say it feels like a little dead to them when they ride when they
Okay.
come from like latex tubes or TPU tubes.
Right.
Um, I actually really like the feel of the tubeless tire.
Okay.
It's, and the self-sealing's like nice. It
Yeah.
is a pain though when you get a big gash. I've had a
Yeah.
couple pairs of bibs that have been ruined just by like complete blowouts on the tire. You get the latex all over them and
No.
it's impossible to wash it out. Yeah.
Oh, you can't get it out. That's not good.
I've tried, yeah, yeah, it's yeah, frustrating when that
Because once
happens.
it
It's that
dries
only
on
happened
there,
two times.
yeah, once it dries
Yeah.
on there, you're screwed, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's
It's in there. It's because it gets in the fibers
yeah,
and then
and
you just,
hardens.
yeah. Yeah,
I
they become my indoor trainer bibs after that.
never thought of that, Mitch. That's crazy. Yeah, I use a very light. It's a plastic, almost like a kid's toy, like a
Mm,
pool toy, and
hmm
but it's very robust. Very few flats. but Jason, the guy that I ride with a lot, he's a tubeless guy. So, but when he has to carry a tube with him, uh,
Hmm.
because if he has a major flat, and then he has to put a tube in it. That's
Yeah.
interesting. So, I was going to talk a little bit about San Francisco, but I know we're running short on time. Um, you went to Europe. You rode one of the climbs there with Cam. Uh,
Hmm.
Absolutely beautiful. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
you actually edged him out at the end. I think you beat him, didn't you? At the end?
Yeah. I did, but I have to give Cram
Yeah.
sorry, Cam. I have to give Cam his due. So basically we're gonna see how fast we could go up the Galibier.
Yeah.
Um and we had ridden, I don't know, we had ridden for like an hour or so to get to the base of that climb,
Yeah.
and then we take off. We're both riding at threshold, and he lasted much longer riding at threshold than I did.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of waited as I caught up with him. And after I cracked, I had just been riding, at my endurance pace up to him. So he had a couple minutes more of threshold in his legs when we were,
Okay.
approaching the top there.
Yeah.
And I knew that, and I took advantage of it.
See, that's so much fun, man. We do the same
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, we do the same. Jason and I went on a ride, and one day he forgot his helmet. And Mitch,
Okay.
we rode 65 miles in the mountains, going up and down hills, and when we come on the way back, I he didn't pull hardly at all that day. And when he was asking me about it, I said it's because I didn't want to see you fall down in front of me and crash and have that
If it
vision in my
happens
mind.
behind you, it doesn't happen. It's
That's right.
bad
That's right.
to say.
So I got to the car about 4.5 minutes before him on the last descent. And you we covered one of my 5 mile laps, one of my best times at 8 minutes. So you're moving pretty good going down the mountain. And I waited on him and I thought, well, I wonder, should I get in my car and drive up there to see if he wiped out and hit his
Oh
head?
no.
Because you can't stop your head. But
Yeah, no.
so you did a climb with a young kid named Sean,
Yeah.
the Scanupia.
Yeah.
That was something else.
Yeah. That climb still haunts me.
It,
Um,
it haunts me, and I've never climbed it. I just watched the video.
it's the video just doesn't even do it justice, even though it looks horrible on video. I've never experienced anything like that climb.
Yeah,
And I don't think I ever do want to experience something like that before or again. See, I
yeah,
can't even talk straight thinking about it.
yeah,
It is just the most ridiculous street I've ever seen in my entire life. The flat sections of that road are 20+%.
oh
And
my,
then you have the hairpins and then they hit 40%. And it's just the first couple of kilometers of that climb are absolutely relentless. There's a few like steeper, more sustained climbs here
mm-hmm,
in Los Angeles that for me are like 10-minute efforts.
mm-hmm,
There's like this climb called Mount Olympus, and they're like steep climbs that just last, around 10 minutes. And those are rough for me. The first 15 minutes of Scanupia, when you hit that like steep section, makes that Mount Olympus climb look like a false flat.
yeah,
It's just it's
yeah,
just crazy.
yeah. I'll recommend that people watch that video.
Oh,
That's
thanks.
incredible. I mean, it's unbelievable. I enjoyed it, and of course, the kid was like 20 years old, right? Sean, I think
Yeah,
it was young,
Sean, yeah, he's so strong. He's a friend of mine. I met him through EJ. He has a channel as well,
yeah,
EJ Train.
right?
Um, and they both Sean's from San Francisco, EJ's from up north of the city.
Yeah,
And yeah, they're both so strong, and Sean is just ridiculously strong.
yeah,
And he he rode on a continental team in Europe
right.
that year. So he's a legitimate
Yeah, pro.
like powerhouse. He won the California State Crit Champs, beating out a World Tour rider the
Oh,
year
wow.
before. And he had a 30-tooth chain ring on the front of his bike, and
Hmm.
he barely made it up the
Wow.
climb. Like it's just. It's
Wow.
just
That's
I cannot clearly enough
yeah.
explain how horrible that
And
climb
now
is.
this was an area too. Did you guys went all the way up to where you're not supposed to ride? Did you or
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, that because the residents up there don't like bicyclists coming up there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a big mistake I made. So I didn't
Yeah.
do enough due diligence on that climb before.
Right.
Um, and there's still I'm not entirely clear. I've received kind of like conflicting answers from different people. Some people
Right.
say that the locals just put up a sign. Other people say it's like a legitimate sign. But there is a sign at the base of the climb that says you're not allowed to ride your bike there.
Right.
Um, I didn't see it before, and then while riding, I was so in the box I didn't notice it. But yeah, we ran some local. You can watch the video if you want, but the the people that live up the hill, I'm
Hmm.
sure they just experience a lot of people riding up this hill, and they're sick of it. They were not happy to see us. If it's a climb that people want to consider doing, I would definitely contact the local government first
Hmm.
and get permission. I heard that's what GCN actually did. They didn't put it in their videos, but I had heard they had like a local fixer who had contacted and they had permission to go up that climb.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's so going forward with my Steep Street series, whenever I go to other places, I'm gonna make sure that I
Make sure
have
you're allowed on it.
contact to make sure I'm allowed on the
Yeah,
street
that's good.
because it's yeah, I mean it's really easy to like just go and chase after these things
Yeah.
and I just kind of get lost in making the video.
Right.
And it's dangerous on YouTube because you can see the extreme version of YouTube where people go further and further down this road of like, how do I make this amazing video and how do I
Right.
get the most views? And if you're not careful, you can really overstep your bounds. And I think I
Yeah.
did a little bit on that video, and
Oh yeah.
I'm using it as a learning experience.
That's good. All right. Now, one last question. Tour de France, top
Uh-huh.
five, top five memories that you took away on your deathbed, you'll still remember
Okay. From the Tour de France
from
that
the Tour de France.
last
Yeah.
year?
Because I saw where you were at, you handed water bottle to
Uh-huh.
Wout Van Aert.
Yeah.
You were at the team bus. You got to meet Vinigo and all these guys.
Uh-huh.
So
That
top
was
top
incredible.
five.
Giving the bottle to Wout Van Aert was a lot of fun. I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
They just give you the bottle. It's part of this. So I was invited. Ketone IQ is a sponsor
I-
of Visa
I've used
Lease a
it.
Bike.
Yeah, it's a
Oh,
great
cool.
product. Yeah, I've
Awesome.
used
Yeah.
ketones.
And the team is amazing too.
Mhm.
They're really, really cool people. So we were there as a guest, and
Mhm.
there were other people as a guest. Interestingly enough, there's the owner of Velo Pasadena, the bike shop where I bought my BMC. He
Yeah.
was also there as a
Oh
guest of
wow.
the team. So it was cool
Okay.
to see him and his wife. Um, yeah, wow, they just tell you like, okay, you're gonna do a bottle drop. It's basically you hold it out. You don't know which rider
I was
is
going to
going to
grab it.
pick it up. So
Yeah.
I'm holding this bottle out, and I see Wout's Red Bull helmet, and I'm like, oh wait, is this? And then he grabs the bottle, and I was just so excited. So that was had to be the highlight of the
Yeah.
entire trip. But also riding, I got a ride with Nathan Van Hooydonk. The day before, he's now like uh helps with these VIP tours and stuff.
All
He
right.
was the lead out guy for Bingo the year before.
Okay.
Super cool guy. It was great hearing like meeting him, hearing his stories.
Yeah.
And then driving, he drove the follow car that we were in,
Right.
and he drove it like it was a rally car
Oh
down these
wow.
mountains, around these turns.
Yeah.
It was surprisingly frightening.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, you could see his like descending skills from being in the Peloton had translated to
Into the
driving this
car.
car. I asked him like, "Wait, would you ever consider being like a race car driver?" He's like, "Oh, I would love to be a race car driver."
Yeah.
Like, and he would be good, I think.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Any others that jump out? What about Vinigo? Little guy?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There, it's interesting because on TV you see these riders again, like we were talking about, guys that are our size, and
Mhm.
they look like giants compared to most of the Peloton. And
Yeah.
then meeting them in person, I realized like, oh, they're just my size.
Yeah.
But compared to all these other riders that are just very like they're just built for climbing,
Oh yeah.
uh, yeah, it's all like relative, right? Because you put them
Yeah.
against like an NBA player, and even the biggest guys in the Peloton are going to look
Yeah.
small.
That's right. How tall are you, Mitch?
I'm as a 6'1".
Okay, and I'm six even, so you're riding
Okay, yeah.
56. You're riding a 56.
I ride a 56. My wingspan's a little shorter than so my wingspan's about 6'1", and then I'm like 6'2" actually.
Yeah.
Um, I just say, anyways, long story short, I ride a 56 because um, a lot of people ask what size, how tall I am, and what
Hmm.
size bike I ride, and if I just give them the 6'2" 56, then people might go and buy a 56 and they should not ride a size 56 because
Right.
my arms are shorter. I need a smaller
Yeah.
frame.
Okay.
But, you should just go try and ride whatever size bike
Yeah.
you're going to try. Don't
Well,
use
my
somebody
my
on the internet
favorite
as your
size
bike.
was I ride a 56 now, but my favorite size was
Uh-huh.
a 54. My first bike,
Yeah.
it was a 54, and I liked the way that bike felt underneath me more than
Uh-huh.
I like the 56. But now the 56 is just such a great climbing bike. I mean, it's just so comfortable
Okay. Yeah.
and longer
Yeah.
distance.
I know a lot of people that race will go down a size and then just put a
Yeah.
longer stem
Well,
on. I
so that's
don't
what I
know if that's more agile or if because it's lighter, but
yeah.
I see that's a pattern I see.
Yeah. Well, and I that's what I was going to ask you about Woot Van Aert and those guys. I think
Uh,
they've sized down, seats way up, the
yeah,
head tubes down. I think he rides a 54 and he's pretty tall, isn't he? Woot Van Aert?
yeah. He's like we're about the same height.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what size he wears. I will say what size he rides. I got to ride the Cervelo, and
Uh-huh.
that it is a long bike.
Is it?
So I think I rode a 56, maybe it was a 58, while I was out there. But man, I was stretched out on that thing.
Okay.
Both the BMC road machine that I ride and the Rita, they have the top tube is actually like kind of short. The
Okay.
reach, or I should just say like the reach isn't
Yeah.
super long, and that's one of the reasons why I picked the bike because again, my wingspan is
Okay.
shorter than
Yeah.
my height. But yeah, they're yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he rides like a 54.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, hey, I know we're about out of time. I want to thank you for joining us today, and we'll put in the comments your channel, in the description so that people can check out some of your videos. But hey, I really appreciate your time, and I hope everybody enjoys hearing more about you in the future. But thank you,
Thanks, Mike.
and just tell the folks that watch this if they would like it and subscribe it. It helps both of us. So
Yeah, you guys heard Mike. Make sure to like and subscribe.
that's it. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Mitch.